sport of kings, better than diamond rings. That's why we're here to sing football. Sunday in the snow, referees whistle blows. Weekend warriors toe to toe. Football. The old timers, do you remember the names like Bronco Nagurski and Night Train Lane? Bulldog Turner, my man Sam Huff, in the snow and the mud, they were still real tough. Crazy Legs Hirsch, and remember Raymond Berry asked me if they hit hard, and I'll say very. Paul, Christian, Buddy, Young Lady Moore is them idol, they seem to always score. Ed Sprinkle, defensive end for those years. Gene Big Daddy Lipton was the man to fear. You have Steve Van Buren and Otto Graham. Johnny Unitas had the arm of a Superman. We had Charlie Trippy and Gino Marquette. If you're searching for a champion, they're your best bet. Which I could quarterback, like Johnny Lou Jack or even Sid Luckman, as a matter of fact. Do you remember Red Grange, the galloping ghost? He could do a 95 running coast to coast. You had Norm Van Brocklin, a real great player, so swift with his moves that he could be mayor. Y.A. Tittle, Allie Madison, hey, I remember all those guys from back in the day. It's the sport of kings, better than diamond rings. That's why we're here to sing football.
Playoffs?
Sunday in the snow, referees whistle blows. Weekend warriors toe to toe. Football.
Playoffs?
Football.
Playoffs?
Football.
Playoffs?
Football.
Playoffs? Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
With all due respect to former head coach Jim Moore, we are in fact going to talk about playoffs. It is the wild card edition of NFL Points, Picks, and Props. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate LL Cool J and Jim Moore doing their little mashup for us. Joining me, as always, Tommy Birch. He is in Connecticut this weekend. Ben O'Connell is in Chicago. I'm in Denver. And we are here to give you the lowdown on the 6 big games this weekend. Super wild card weekend. Begins on Saturday, ends on Monday. This is the first Monday night game, right? For the playoffs. I think that's a new thing. We're also going to talk a little bit about some coaching news. There are 5 openings in the NFL. Last year, there were 11. So not quite as many jobs open as there were a year ago. But we're going to go ahead and talk about those. The odds-on favorites to get each job. Gentlemen, the playoffs are here. We've gone through 18 weeks. This is why you lift all those weights, as Bill Parcells told his team. You guys ready for the playoffs?
Oh yeah, playoff time, baby.
Oh yes, as a Bronco fan, absolutely love the playoffs. See, my dreams were crushed weeks ago, and now you two get to feel the sweat, wondering if your season is about to end at any given moment. Honestly, it's great to watch you guys be all nervous because we've known the Broncos' destiny long ago. It's time to see one of your favorites get eliminated. Am I right?
Yes, you are right. Yes, there is a guarantee that one of our teams will not win the Super Bowl. That we know for certain. All right. As we do each week, we are going to start off with a game. Now, since we're down to 6 games only on the schedule, we are not going to pick a favorite top dog and an easy money line pick, but we are going to still pick our favorite bets of the week. The winner of this game will get to go first with that. So winning, very important. We're back to an odd number week. This would officially be week 19. So that means, Tommy, you get to go first. And your first, the topic, know your playoff teams. So these are going to be questions about the teams that are in the playoffs and some of their playoff history. So we're going to start off with question number 1 for Tommy Birch. Since this team last won a Super Bowl, they have not advanced beyond the divisional round, and they haven't won a road playoff game since 1993.
Since the last Super Bowl, they have not
gotten past the divisional round.
They've not gotten
past the
divisional
round would be the next week's games.
Yes.
They have not been to a championship game since they won a Super Bowl, and their last road playoff win was 1993.
So, since their last Super Bowl, I'm gonna go with This is tough. I'm gonna go with Tampa.
Well, I mean, Tampa was just in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, so
Yeah,
it
I
would
mean
be,
after that,
it would be weird to say that they haven't been in the AFC Championship game or the NFC Championship game in 1 year. So no, it is not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Is it Dallas?
It is in fact the Dallas Cowboys.
That's
Since their
fair.
Super Bowl, since they won Super Bowl in 1995, they have not gotten past the divisional round. They have lost their last 8 road playoff games.
Jeez.
And here they are playing on the road in the playoffs. So we'll talk more about that in a bit. Okay, Ben, this question is to you. This team was in the championship game just 5 years ago, but this is their first playoff appearance since that game.
Since 5 years ago.
Yes, they were in the championship game, 1 game away from the Super Bowl, and now for the first time they are back in the postseason.
Oh, Jacksonville.
Damn.
It is indeed the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well done. Yes. Jaguars were that close to the Super Bowl, then they just went belly up, and now they are back to being relevant.
Yeah,
Good
that
times
Blake
in-
Bortles team was ridiculous, huh?
Yeah, good times in Duval
Getting up
County
for the
right
good
now.
place.
All right. Since 2009, this team won a Super Bowl, going 3-0 in the postseason that year, but they are just 1-6 in the playoffs in their non-Super Bowl years since 2009.
So in 2009, they won the Super Bowl.
No. Since
No.
2009, they are 1
Okay.
in non-Super Bowl years, and then they had a Super Bowl. So they had one really good postseason run out of multiple. Well, they lost 6 times. So they've been in the postseason 7 times because obviously they lost 6 times and they won 1. Perhaps the person who wrote this question should have done a better job of making it clear. Who knows that?
Let's see. So they've been in the playoffs a lot.
It is not the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Dallas Cowboys.
They cannot be either of those teams. So they lost 6 games in the playoffs, which means they're making a lot of runs in the playoffs.
Been in the playoffs a
So
lot,
They're
but
consistently there.
they've not been very good, except for that 1 year where they went to the Super Bowl and won it.
This is kind of tough. Teams that have won the Super Bowl. Is this Baltimore?
It is not the Baltimore Ravens. Ben, do you know who this is?
They won their Super Bowl?
They did win the Super Bowl, yes.
Is this Seattle?
It is the Philadelphia
Oh
Eagles.
shit.
They had that magical run where they beat the Patriots, but the rest of really the last 15 years, they have not
God,
been
2
very
teams
good
have
in the
bye
postseason.
weeks.
I forgot about the
Teams
bye
have
week
bye
teams
weeks.
too.
Yes. This covers all 14 teams, not just 12.
Heartbroken. I forgot. Yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense.
All right, Tommy, this is to you.
Is
5
it-
of the 12
No, it's
teams
to
to
me.
have. I'm sorry, to Ben. Yes, 5 of the 12 teams to have never won a Super Bowl are in the playoffs this year. Who are those 5?
5 of the 12 teams to never win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. So overall, in the entire league, 12 teams have never won a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
5 of them are in the playoffs this year.
correct. All
Who are
right.
those 5?
Chargers,
is one.
Bills,
2,
Vikings.
3.
I'm sorry. What, did I say? Did I say
Yeah,
Jags?
Chargers, Bills, Vikings. You have now said Jags. That's 4. One more.
And Cincy.
You got it. That is 5. Well done. Okay, Tommy, to you. The Bills and Vikings have each lost 4 Super Bowls, the most losses without a Super Bowl win. 3 teams in the field this year have 3 Super Bowl losses, but only one of those 3 teams has never won a Super Bowl. Who is that team?
3 Super Bowl losses and has never won a Super Bowl.
Yes.
Is this no, can't say that. My brain's farting on me right now.
Well, it's one of the 5 teams that Ben just rattled off.
Yes, so that brings down my numbers a lot.
And it's not the Bills or Vikings because they've lost 4.
Is it Minnesota?
Well, it's not the Vikings. They've lost 4.
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry.
They've
That's
lost
just
4 Super Bowls.
what's going on in my brain right now. I could not
Man, we're
explain.
gonna have to find a new co-host.
You need to have that Rockstar energy drink that.
Yeah,
that
I need that right
Yeah.
now. That drive to Connecticut was terrible.
Kill
it is this.
Yeah,
I'll just go ahead and tell you. It is the Cincinnati Bengals. They are 0-3 in the Super Bowl. The Dolphins and Cowboys have also lost 3 Super Bowls, but they've also won Super Bowls. So they.
I just didn't even know that Cincy made it to 3 Super Bowls. To be honest with you,
Yes.
I thought it was 2.
They did one in the or 2 in the 80s, and then the one most recent. They lost with Ken Anderson at quarterback, with Boomer Esiason at quarterback, and with Joe Burrow at quarterback. Okay. Ben, this question is to you.
Yeah.
The Cowboys and 49ers each have 5 Super Bowl wins. Which team in this year's playoff ranks behind them with 4 Super Bowl wins?
4
not the
Super Bowl
Bengals.
wins.
Is
Is that the Giants? Nah.
it is indeed the New York Giants. You are correct.
Oh,
They got their 2 wins in the 80s, and then their 2 wins with Eli Manning. Or I guess the second win was 1990, so not quite the 80s. But all right, yes, the Giants with 4 Super Bowl wins.
unfortunately.
Okay, Tommy, back to you. The 49ers have the highest playoff winning percentage of the 14 teams in the playoffs this season. New England is the overall leader. Which team in this year's playoffs has the second highest winning percentage behind San Francisco? Second highest postseason winning percentage in this field of 14 teams.
In this field of 14 teams, is it Seattle?
It is the Baltimore Ravens. They have 16 wins to 11 losses. Their .593 winning percentage is second only to the 49ers in this field of 14.
I'm not clutching the playoffs. I feel like Dak against Sam Howell right now. This is ridiculous.
Flacco is killing.
Well, I think you qualify for the bye, so you have a week to still get yourself ready.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, Ben. Okay, this question is to you. This is the last of our 8 questions, and we'll go ahead and do a little tiebreaker, even though Ben is going to win this.
I got shut out. I got shut out today.
The Chiefs have the longest current playoff streak at 8 seasons in a row. Which team in this field has the second longest active streak?
Active streak. Looking at the field, I'm going to say, is it Tampa?
It is the Buffalo Bills. They have gone to the playoffs 4 straight seasons now, this being their 4th in a row. So it's not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right. Our tiebreaker question. In the history of the NFL, dating back to when they first started doing championship games back in the 1930s, and then obviously now they do a whole playoffs. We have 13 playoff games this season. How many postseason games have there been played in NFL history? Closest to the real number wins this question.
Oh, geez. This is a math problem right now.
Total playoff games in NFL history. This includes Super Bowls, AFL championship games, back the old NFL championship games back before there was an AFL.
164.
Oh.
Okay, Ben's guess is 164. Tommy.
I'm going to go with 205.
The answer is 599. There are 13 this year. There were 13 last year. The NFL has been around for over 100 years, guys.
I only added one. I only added 1 0. I just doing, that makes sense. Yeah,
right, 599. So Ben,
I got a question.
Ben, when we make our favorite picks of the weekend, you will get to go first. In the meantime, we are going to start talking about the coaches and the openings that are coming up. And the first one that we certainly know about is the Arizona Cardinals. The Cliff Kingsbury contract extension that he signed last spring Not enough to keep him in town. He has been booted. Sean Payton, the odds-on favorite to win that job. Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator of the Eagles, he is second. D'Amico Ryans, defensive coach up there in San Francisco at plus 300. And down there at the bottom, Ben Johnson, everyone's favorite offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. Cardinals drafting third overall. This is an interesting job because very rarely do you have a young franchise quarterback locked up for the future as you take over as a new head coach. But there's also a lot of work to be done. What do you guys think about the Cardinals' head coaching job?
There's a lot to take into account here. I mean, you gotta think about not only like the lack of production on the offensive end with so much talent, and I feel like if they had a really good offensive coach, like maybe an offensive coordinator transitioning to the head coaching job. I mean, I love D'Amico Ryans. Obviously, I'm very biased, but I really don't think this would be like his pit stop. I feel like maybe your boy in KC would be a better option here just because he knows offense. He coached one of the best offenses in the league for the past 5 years, and he could be really productive and maybe get the most out of what we've been lacking in Kyler Murray.
Well, just piggybacking off of that Kyler Murray thing, he said, or the Cardinals have come out and said that he's going to have some say in this coaching search. I think that is an interesting precedent to set for a young quarterback who has. Don't get me wrong, he's shown flashes, but I don't think he's shown enough to really necessarily hand over the keys to the organization. I don't think that it's enough to fully invest. And I think that if you're the Cardinals, you should be going out there, finding a coach that sees and has an idea of what to do with Kyler in their offense, not necessarily Kyler going out to find, who should be piloting this. I'm just honestly kind of worried for that, just because we also know that whether we like to joke about it a lot, but we don't know his work ethic 100%. We don't know the video games and stuff like that. What's he necessarily going to be looking for in a coach? Is he going to look for someone who's going to actually let him have some leeway, or is he going to find someone who's going to take that and elevate the team from where they are right now? So yeah, that's kind of where my head's at with the Arizona job search.
Hey, Ben, it sounds like that you've either sucked on some helium or you're auditioning to be a character at Disneyland.
You got a little voice mod on right now.
Yeah, it's like you're going to be one of the chipmunks at the Brown Jug band there in Disneyland. I don't know if you need to unplug or how that works, but that was fun to listen to. One thing about the Cardinals' job is they obviously that's your regular voice, yeah. That sounds good. So the Cardinals also they're in a hunt for their GM because Steve Keim is out as well. One of the only two GM jobs. So that's going to play a factor in this head coaching search. And also they've talked about openly now that they are open to trading DeAndre Hopkins. He's 30. He's going to be though somebody there's going to be a market for him. So it's kind of almost a rebuild for this team. But of course you do have the franchise quarterback in place. It'll be very interesting to see where that goes. All right. Next team that has a head coaching opening is the Carolina Panthers. And again, Shane's the same kind of names up on this list. Steve Wilkes, however, current interim coach who did a really nice job of getting the team to play well. He is third on the list at plus 300, or tied with D'Amico Ryans for second at plus 300. Jim Caldwell, Frank Wright, and then Dan Quinn rounding out the top five. Obviously the cap space not ideal, but they can work with that. You've also got an owner here though who really has loaded pockets, wants to spend some money, and a pretty good roster. There are some really talented players on this team. If I'm a coach, I think the Panthers job of the open jobs right now, I think the Panthers job is probably the one that I would like the best.
For sure. I mean, honestly, with how Steve Wilkes turned this team around, I mean, I would love to see him back. I would love to see the same, coaching staff that we have right now coming into next season, because they flipped this team on its head. I mean, they made the trade, the Baker Mayfield trade. They released him, and then they put Sam Darnold him in. He performed. Their running game was incredible. Their defense was serviceable at times. That can be improved on, but for an interim head coach, we can't have. We talked about this earlier in the season. We can't have another Raiders situation where your coach brings your team to success, your interim head coach, and you just drop him for Josh McDaniels, and then your season just goes to shit. This team has a lot of a very positive path ahead of them, in my personal opinion, and I agree with you. This is probably the head coaching job I would personally want the most. There's so much upside to this team.
Well, and it's a winnable division. I mean, you're going into the NFC South.
Exactly. I think I would love to see Steve Wilkes back, but you know anything can happen. But I bet that's going to be a very it's going to be a very competitive job search for the Panthers.
Does this sound better? We
That sounds great.
back to
You
the
sound you
living.
sound
Oh
you
my
sound like Ben
goodness.
now.
Perfect. No, I'm right there with Tommy. I think that Wilkes should definitely be brought back. Uh, my point would maybe be like why I don't think that this would be a job that I would personally go to is no matter what happens, if Steve Wilkes doesn't come back, the new coach is going to be compared directly to the success that Steve Wilkes had with a roster that wasn't his. Uh, and so I think that it would be a very unfortunate and bad situation for the Panthers to put themselves into, where whoever you're brought in, if they don't have that success, well, all of a sudden everyone's looking back at the dude that just left, you know? So yeah, not to just, say everything that Tommy said. I completely agree. You don't want a Raider situation here. I think Steve Wilkes should probably should be, the front runner for this.
Yeah, I think that they hire Wilkes, get this off of your plate, and now you figure out what you're going to do at quarterback because, I Sam Darnold played well, but he's not going to take you to the promised land. You've got a good young left tackle. You've traded away Christian McCaffrey, and you still had a stud running game. There's some really nice pieces at wide receiver. Obviously, Brian Burns is a stud on defense. There's some pieces in place. Yeah, just sign Wilkes and then go about getting your quarterback. And I think this team can be in really good shape next year. All right. There's another team. We're going alphabetically, Ben, if you've noticed. And I don't know if you know what comes after C, but it is D. The Denver Broncos, the next head coach, Jim Harbaugh. Now, when we put these odds together yesterday, Jim Harbaugh was the favorite at plus 200, Sean Payton at plus 250, Dan Quinn there at plus 300. There's been a lot of talk. We're recording this on Thursday. A lot of talk on Thursday. The University of Michigan vowing to not let Harbaugh leave. And maybe Harbaugh was just dangling his name out there for the NFL to get even a little more cash. Certainly, he didn't equip himself too well with his win or his loss to the TCU Horned Frogs in that semifinal game. But if he can parlay that into more cash out of Michigan because the Broncos are interested in, then, good on him. So I don't know that Harbaugh is the favorite at this point. For Ben, let me ask you, who is your favorite? Who would you like to see more than anyone else?
Not Jim Harbaugh. I think Jim Harbaugh has proven himself with his bowl history. What was he like? He has like two
and 8 or something like that. Yeah.
2-9 or something. Like this is I think that proves when you're at Michigan, you can't complain about recruiting. You can't talk about other school. You are a powerhouse in the Big Ten. You get to the playoffs. You lose consistently. Just the postseason record to me doesn't scream, hey, I got it all under control like I should be to be moving up to the next level again. Obviously, he did have success in San Francisco. I'm not going to detract from that, but, I not necessarily who I necessarily would want right away. Honestly, I'm kind of out on who I would like. What I do know is that I think that the Denver job is a little bit more attractive than people were giving it credit for because the ownership group is proving that they are fully committed to this team. They replaced grass, for 2 games.
400 grand's worth of grass.
Yeah. And I mean, like this is just the commitment that Broncos country's been looking for. This was the commitment from ownership that's been missing in the Rockies for so long. We needed this. That's great. I think that whoever the coach is, I'm gonna have more confidence in them than the past. Where are we at? Like 5 or so now. Like, it's just been a hard stretch in Denver. Personally, if I had to hire one today, I'd probably go with either Sean Payton or Dan Quinn. Um, I think that Dan Quinn was a really, highly touted candidate coming into last season. Denver almost, went that way. Sean Payton obviously has that extensive record. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just excited to see the commitment from the ownership group because that's just what's been missing in Denver for so long.
I think that I mean I'm not a Broncos fan, so I guess like I don't watch as much Broncos football as Ben, but I really do feel like Sean Payton would be like the go-to here. Just like figure out the Russ situation, man. I feel like if anybody's
Yeah.
gonna do it, it's him.
Peyton even came out and has said, "I can fix Russell Wilson." He has made that statement.
But also, I was watching a clip today from Sean Payton during the draft combine when Kyler Murray was getting drafted, and he
Mhm.
was really high on Kyler Murray too. So it could go either way for Denver, Arizona with him. But I really do think that if Sean Payton goes to Denver, that everything will turn around. And I that might be like blissful thinking on my end, but I'm so confident that that team can do well. They just didn't, and I'm gonna be stuck on that potential. But I do think he can do something with it.
The downside of Payton is that you're going to have to give away draft compensation, and the Broncos do have that first round pick. It's the 49ers first round pick via the Dolphins from trading Bradley Chubb, but that's the only pick they have in the top 2 rounds. So that pick is going to have to go to New Orleans in order to get Sean Payton. So then he's taking over a team that has no picks until the 3rd round. Arizona has a better draft package, like you're talking about, and he's expressed interest in the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, but that's inside the NFC. Do the Saints really want him to go and play in conference? It'll be really interesting to see how the Saints decide to play that, and how they. I mean, obviously, if they have a good relationship with Sean Payton, and I think they'll try to work out to help him go to the place that he wants to, but they're not going to just give him away for free. So there's going to be some kind of draft compensation coming back to them, and just how valuable that will be remains to be seen. All right, moving on from the Denver Broncos, the Indianapolis Colts. Now, Jim Harbaugh also one of the favorites here because he did play for the Colts. Peyton Manning, second on the betting board at plus
How
575,
was
and Jeff Saturday. Somehow Jeff
Why?
Saturday still plus
why
700.
this is-
How he didn't sever all abilities to be an Indianapolis head coach, I have no idea. But somehow Jeff Saturday's performance this year still has him in the running to be the permanent head coach. And then because hiring a coach with no experience wasn't a bad enough problem for the Colts, Peyton Manning with no experience is on this list.
Hear me out, right? Hear me out.
Uh-huh.
Jeff Saturday, run game coordinator. Peyton Manning, passing game coordinator.
And so who's your head coach then?
I don't know.
Jim Harbaugh?
Whoever.
Maybe Jim Irsay just goes and decides to become an owner coach, like back when Al Davis did that.
One of those flappy guys at the car dealership, Just
There are a couple other names on this list that I thought were interesting. Mike Kafka, he was the quarterbacks coach for the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. Just 1 year in as the offensive coordinator of the Giants this year, but 1 year has enough for people to be excited about him as a potential head coach. There's a number of teams that have requested permission to talk to Kafka, and he is here on this list, number 5 at plus 1,000 for the Colts. Colts are drafting 4th overall. I think we all agree that getting 38-year-old retread quarterbacks probably needs to be a thing of the past, and that 4th round or that 4th overall pick needs to be for a quarterback. This Colts team wasn't very bad last year. They were actually pretty good. If they could just get a quarterback, they could probably be good again. And again, it's not a very tough division, so I don't know. I think it would be desirable, except for the fact that Irsay has proven to be a bit of a wild card. All right, and the last open position, the Houston Texans. Eric Bieniemy, the betting favorite at plus 250. Jonathan Gannon, the defensive coordinator for the Eagles, is at plus 500. Jared Mayo is third, although there were talks today that the Patriots are really trying to work out a contract extension for him and possibly groom him to be the successor to Bill Belichick. That might be interesting. And for some reason, Brian Schottenheimer has shown up on this list, the former offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks, son of Marty Schottenheimer, and Ben, former Kansas University quarterback, Brian Schottenheimer, back when you and I were living in Kansas.
Yeah.
So anyway, Texans had the 2nd overall pick and the 12th overall pick, thanks to the Cleveland Browns trading for Deshaun Watson. They have 12 total picks, lots of cap space. They've got some good pieces. Derek Stingley's a stud at cornerback. We obviously liked what we saw at Dameon Pierce. Laramie Tunsil is a stud left tackle. He could, however, be used for even more draft capital. But you do have ownership that has now 2 years in a row fired a coach after 1 year. Do you want the Houston Texans job?
No, not at all. It's a cursed seat. Why would I mean, like in like principle, it's a great spot to go to, but you know that if you don't have immediate success with the resources that you have, that ownership already, has that record of being quick with it. Yeah, no, I'm not touching this job with a 10-foot pole.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't hate this job. I mean, if you like, I know the offense looks like just a steaming hot pile of garbage, but there is 2 first-round picks here, and they're
2
in
top
the
12 picks. These are high
yes,
picks.
these are top half of the first round. You get some really quality players out of this pool. 12 total picks. They have an insane amount of draft capital this year. They could trade it for some valuable pieces. They
They've
could
got great cap space too. Yeah,
exactly 41.8 million. They're actually in a pretty decent position to put themselves like in the 500 category next season if they can fix some things. I mean, they had some really competitive games this season against some pretty good teams, and I mean, I saw right before we started the show that I think Jerod Mayo officially signed his extension
did
for
he
the
sign
Patriots.
it? Okay.
Yeah, so I think he's out of the race completely. But if you get a guy who's willing to be creative and make some trades and do something that maybe some coaches are a little too reserved to do, be a little risky, make something happen. I mean, I feel like they could actually find real success next season, and we could see a similar story to how we see, the Lions this year with Dan Campbell. I mean, you put the right coach in there, and it fixes things. And I don't know, I have some hope for them.
Yeah. Well, there's only 32 of these jobs in the world, and only 5 of them have opened for this past year. So I know you want to be picky and choosy, but if you are a first-time head coach, how do you say no to a job that you may not get another opportunity? You may not get an opportunity for 5-6 years down the road. Obviously nothing is ideal. You're always going to have to deal with ownership. Ownership sets the tone from the top, but yeah, no, the ownership here in Houston has proven to be less than stable. But there are a lot of good pieces there in Houston that you have to consider. There's one other job. It's not officially open yet, but it is the Los Angeles Rams job that is on the betting boards because Sean McVay has said that he's going to take some time to think about his future. He's newly married. Also newly had a bad season. He's not used to struggling. He's not used to 5-12 as a record. This team, not much cap space at all. They are coming up against it. They have no first round pick this year. So it's the Rams. You've got Cooper Kupp that'll be back next year. Aaron Donald's under contract. Matthew Stafford says he wants to play. So you've got some pieces that are going to be still good, but this is a team that really is kind of in a transition. And if Sean McVay, as you can see on the board, Sean McVay is at minus 220. He is the favorite to still be the coach in 2023. But Sean Payton right up there. Although again, what can the Rams trade the Saints to get Sean Payton? They only have like bags of footballs now at this point. DeMeco Ryans, NFC West rival on the board. Raheem Morris up there as well. Shane Waldron, who is a former coach with Sean McVay. He's the offensive coordinator in Seattle this year, but he's coached with the Rams in the past. And then Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator there for the Lions at plus 111, or I'm sorry, 1100. But I don't know. I mean, do we think Sean McVay leaves? Do we think one of these guys comes in? And would you want this job?
I say I don't think that Sean McVay should leave. He's just gonna leave his mess on everybody else. And quite honestly, I think that of all the coaching jobs that you don't want, this is the biggest one. I mean, negative 20 million in cap space, 0 draft capital because, F them picks, definitely. Yeah, sure. F them picks when you go 5-12, please. This team was in shambles this year. You saw sparks of hope with Baker Mayfield. If you need to sign Baker Mayfield to give your team an ounce of hope to win a game, you are in a terrible state. I would just ignore every Los Angeles phone call if I knew that they were calling. I couldn't do it. I don't think that this is setting somebody up for failure. I think Sean McVay, if he really is a good man, like some like to think he is, he should stay in LA, fix the issues that he made, and if he can turn this team around and find some success and maybe bring them to a winning record next year, it'll be a turnaround. He'll be considered a great coach, but if he leaves now, he's a bum.
Here's my thing. I think Sean McVay, he's just young. And he had so much success early, right? Like in the world of fighting, there will be a fighter who's just like undefeated for so long and then suffers their first loss. And they don't know how to handle that. And they'll come out and they'll be like, I'm retiring. And that lasts for like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
This is Sean McVay's I'm retiring phase. I'm going to go throw a couple of units on him to stay because I know that in his head, he's like, well, I just won a Super Bowl. I know that I can do this. I'm going to stay here and do it. They already knew that they were going to be a train wreck. They'll go out there and tell you, oh, no, we had no idea that this was going to happen. But they knew when they were building their roster a couple years ago when they decided, hey, we're moving to a ship it out for a win now mentality. They knew that at some point it was going to catch up with them. So the idea that this was a surprise to them, it is wild to me. To the idea that Sean McVay did not know that this wasn't going to be the year, I find that hard to believe. I think he'll grow up, and I think that he'll say, you know what, you can't win them all every year. So yeah, I'll come back. I don't think the Rams will be competitive next year. I don't think the Rams will be competitive for a minute, but I do think that he'll come back and he will be the coach for a while longer because that's just how football is. If you get to this echelon of football as a career, it's just in your bloodstream. It's not something that you can just walk away easily from. It's why kickers who can kick forever and why Tom Brady has been throwing the ball forever because you can't get that out of your blood, that competition.
Yeah.
So I think Sean's, in it for the long haul.
Well, it's coaching is in his DNA. It goes way back to his grandfather. That is one of the things he cited in terms of all the things that have happened this year. He lost his grandfather this year. He married a Ukrainian woman who has watched her country, be bombed for the last year. And I'm sure all of those things coupled with being 5-12. Dick Vermeil came out and talked about this actually today and talked about, when you have that kind of success early and then all of a sudden you start to lose, those losses hurt you way more than the benefit of any of the wins. And he talked about his quick burnout and how he needed to get away, but he never lost that desire. And of course, he came back and ended up winning a Super Bowl as the Rams coach, after getting to a Super Bowl as a very young Eagles coach. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I agree with you. He's 38. Obviously, he can go sit and behind a broadcast desk and make lots of money doing that. But I think he loves being talked about as a genius, and if he walks away, that will leave with it. I think he wants to still be the genius of the NFL. Turning around a bad team, that shows you that you're a genius. And one final point, I think if you're going to win a Super Bowl every 7 or 8 years, but it means going all in, and then those other years you're not very good, I think you still do that. I think the prize of that Lombardi trophy is worth it. I think there are a lot of teams who would happily give up several bad years if they knew that they could get that trophy. So, yeah, suck it up, be a man, get this team back to relevancy. Again, you've got a lot of guys coming back next year who are all very good players. You just got to figure out the offensive line. All right, so those are the coaching vacancies, and one potential coaching vacancy. McVay has not given the timeline as to when he's going to tell the Rams what he's going to do. Although he has told all of his assistant coaches, go ahead and look for other jobs. Now, there were going to be some changes at the assistant coaches anyway because of the kind of season they had. But he's already lost his offensive coordinator. He went back to the University of Kentucky, and he'll probably lose a few more of his assistant coaches before it's all said and done. And maybe he decides to leave, and there's a whole brand new coaching staff there. We shall see. Before any of that's going to happen, though, we're going to have 6 football games, starting with 2 of them on Saturday. Guys, let's go ahead and get into these games right now. The first game is the Seattle Seahawks at the San Francisco 49ers. And, well, I am going to lone wolf this one. I'm not predicting the Seattle Seahawks win, but with the forecast for heavy rains, heavy winds, I see this being a much lower scoring game than it would have been normally. I think Seattle, Kenneth Walker has been fantastic. He's had 3 now. He finished the season with 3 games over 100 yards. Now, granted, the 49ers have not given up more than 70 yards to anybody this year, but I think the Seahawks can pound it away. I think Geno can be enough of a ball control quarterback in those conditions to keep this game closer than the 10 points. I'm not going to suggest that it's going to be a close game. I don't think we're ever going to feel like the 49ers are in danger of losing, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I like the Seahawks to keep it close.
This is interesting for me because I did definitely consider the Seahawks plus 10 here, but I just don't think that the Seahawks, like Kenneth Walker has been playing incredibly. He's one of the best rookies. He's breaking out this year, but there's not much depth behind him. And if you're playing in these kind of conditions, you got to be able to split consistent reps if you're going to be rushing the ball more, because the game in this kind of weather is going to be completely different. There's going to be a lot more carries, a lot more contact, and it's slippery and it's a little more dangerous out there. It's just him taking the snaps at running back, basically. I mean, he takes the majority, and the Niners have a very as much as Christian McCaffrey is a superstar, and I think he was the NFC Offensive Player of the Month too. He's got guys behind him that are capable of running the ball as well. I mean, you saw Elijah Mitchell last week. He ran in for a touchdown again, finally. And even Jordan Mason deep in the depth chart. There's guys that, like, if you split the reps, you keep running the ball, and the offensive line is so consistent and so dominant that I just don't think that Seattle's going to be able to hold them.
Yeah. Sorry, I saw I had sent in the Seattle. I'm actually with Kyle on this one. I think Seattle is going to cover 10 here. I think the weather report came out. I was all over thinking that the pass game is not going to be too relevant in this one. What a weird twist of fate for Broncos fans, huh? Connecting our draft pick to San Francisco. And now we're out here having to root for Seattle in the playoffs somehow furthering our narrative of being eternal losers in this trade. But yeah, no, I think San Francisco is easily going to win it. I do think that it's within 10 though.
Yes, I see, Ben, that you did send me Seattle plus 10. So that was, again, the person who was creating these boards, that was their mistake. And I'll make
Producer
sure
Steve.
I'll send a message to Steve so
Come
that
on,
doesn't
Stevie.
happen
Get it
again.
Come
together.
on,
Yeah,
Steve.
yeah.
And you were
We'll
asking
send
for
it.
a raise. Come on now, get it
Yeah,
together.
no, yeah. That's Steve's better. Steve wants to be around for the division round. He needs to straighten that up. Um, I do want to say one thing about the 49ers long-term prospects going forward. So they are just the sixth team since the Super Bowl era to lead the NFL in turnover margin, points allowed per game, and yards allowed per game. 3 of the previous 5 teams that did that all won the Super Bowl. The Bears in 85, the Bucks in 2002, and the Seahawks in 2013. This 49ers defense is very good. And assuming that they can get through this game, I like their chances moving forward. They're playing better than anybody else in the NFC right now. That is for sure. So we have some prop bets for this game. Our top props, Tommy's. Yes, as you mentioned, Christian McCaffrey is a star, and you like him to do okay in this game.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, Seattle has not been incredible against the run this year. And with Christian McCaffrey getting so many more carries, definitely this weekend. And with he's just on a roll right now. I mean, I guess, last week doesn't count too much because, they weren't worried about, winning the game. And he got some more rest because they don't want to, they only got 10 carries. But in the 3 games before that, 19 carries, 15 carries, 26 carries. He had a touchdown each of those games, and 2 of those games were for over 100. I mean, and then you're playing in conditions where he's going to get the ball even more with the hot streak that he's had. I don't expect him to get any less than that.
All right, Ben, you have a prop from this game, and
Yeah.
it is weather related.
Yeah, I pound the rock, and they're gonna have so much success. They're not gonna need Purdy to actually really need to stretch it out. They're not gonna be taking those risks in the red zone. They're just gonna pound, pound, pound the rock on the ground. I see Purdy throwing a touchdown, but I don't see him throwing 2. I have him under 1.5 touchdowns at -120.
And I'm with you. I think that the passing games both struggle. I'm going to go the under on Purdy, and I'm going to add that to Geno Smith also going under. So Purdy under 223 and a half pass yards. Same thing for Geno Smith under 230 and a half pass yards. And that little same game parlay there is going to net me a plus 238. I just can't see either one of these quarterbacks having a big game in what is expected to be a pretty rough weather day in the Bay Area. All right. Our next game also on Saturday. And I think a lot of us are excited for this game. Chargers at the Jaguars. And Tommy, you're lone wolf on that one. Please tell me, Ben, that Steve got your correct pick for you.
Yes, Steve.
All right. Good job, Steve. So Tommy, tell us about the Los Angeles Chargers. At one point, it's basically a pick 'em. So however it is required for them to get the W, you see them winning this game.
I do see the Chargers winning this game. I mean, Jaguars have been on a really big hot streak, and they're good. You can't deny it. But their record shows they're not this whole season has not been very consistent for them. I mean, the last couple of weeks have, but they did not cover against Tennessee last week, and Tennessee was starting Joshua Dobbs, and then that makes me worry because Joshua Dobbs had a decent game against them. What's going to happen with Justin Herbert? Like, if you're going to let Joshua Dobbs play like that, then what are you going to let one of the better quarterbacks in the league do? I mean, I do think that Jacksonville is going to put up a very good fight, and the -1 was just, it was a pick 'em. I got to pick who I think is going to win. But if it was a +3, even +3.5, I'd be picking Jacksonville here. I think it's going to be really close.
Well, the first time they met, they played in week 3, and Jacksonville won that game 38-10. So that was obviously a lot of things have changed since the end of September. Ben, before I get your comments on the Jags, I want to just throw out a couple of fun stats. So the Jaguars, through the first 13 weeks of the season, they ranked 24th in defensive EPA. They were struggling. But the last 5 weeks of the season, week 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, they were number 1 in the NFL. We're all excited about the quarterback matchup, Justin Herbert versus Trevor Lawrence. But I think the reason the Jaguars are going to win this game is because their defense has really stepped up this last month and a half of the season. Now, we've talked a lot about the Chargers defense has also played better down the stretch. But this is who the Chargers have faced at quarterback in those weeks that we credit them for being good. They faced an injured Ryan Tannehill. Malik Willis then came in for him. They played against Nick Foles. They played against Baker Mayfield. And they played against Russell Wilson. I don't know. I mean, are those good quarterbacks? I don't know. I just think that the Jaguars defense is just playing so well. The Chargers are still really susceptible to giving up the run. Oh, one last stat before we get to you, Ben. I apologize for making you sit there and wait. 6 of the last 8 weeks, the Chargers have allowed a 100-yard rusher. Isaiah Pacheco, James Conner, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Cam Akers, and Latavius Murray. Jacobs and Derrick Henry, legit. But Pacheco, Conner, Akers, and Murray all went for 100 yards against this Chargers team. None of those guys are top-tier backs. But against the Los Angeles Chargers, backs do look pretty good. So that is my take on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The Jacksonville Jags have pulled it together in the back half of this season. And honestly, if they played that way from the beginning, who knows what their record would be. Yeah, and I think that it's important to note this is a team with a new coach, the very young quarterback whose first season with unbelievable circumstances with the coach with all that fiasco. But this defense has some young freaking dogs on them that are ready to go out there and just hunt. They're about to go out there on a national spotlight and put on a freaking show. I'm with you, Kyle. I think that the Jacksonville defense is so incredibly fun to watch. I think that they're just going to go out there, put on a dominating performance. And I think that Trevor Lawrence, I'm a big Trevor Lawrence guy. I think that he steps up, and I think that he really shows, that all the hype was real and legit. This dude is ready to take over the NFL. I think that he goes out there and has a career game.
It's going to be a fun game. I think that we all can agree that this is for me, this is my favorite game of the weekend. I am looking forward to it a lot. We do have some prop bets for this game. Tommy, so you've got the Chargers winning, but you've got Justin Herbert throwing a pick.
As much as I do think that the Chargers are going to win, I think overall their performance is going to be better. I mean, in the last 5 games, Jacksonville has 5 interceptions. Whether that be against good quarterbacks or not, they're consistent. And I don't think, and Justin Herbert, he takes some shots every once in a while, even though their offense is pretty dink and dunk. And I could see him throwing a pick, and I am pretty confident that he will too. And at plus 100 money, kind of like it.
Yeah. Okay. I can agree with that. All right, Ben, your prop bet here is on Trevor Lawrence.
Heck yeah. Career game. I already said it. Over 249.5 pass yards and 2+ touchdowns at plus 190. I think that he goes in, just absolutely lights it up. This is what the guy is made for, these big moments. I think he goes out there and just performs.
And I am on the Travis Etienne bandwagon. I think that he is going to go over 96.5 rush and receiving yards. That's minus 117 on the board. I also like I think it's his rush total is 76.5. I like that, but I like the combo as well. I think that again, the Chargers have been susceptible to the run, and Travis Etienne has shown that he has some real flashes of greatness there. I am excited to watch all of the guys play in this game. Some really great young players on both sides of the ball, both sidelines going to be playing in this game. All right, moving on to Sunday. Our first game on Sunday, Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. It is a 9-point spread. We all like the Buffalo Bills to cover that spread. And guys, I think back to last year. New England Patriots sneak in as a 7th seed. They then go to Buffalo, and they just get their asses waxed. It is a perfect day for the Bills offense. They send the Patriots home with their tails between their legs. And I am sorry. I like the Dolphins. I would love for the Dolphins to be able to win this game, but there's just no way. I think the Bills, I think the Bills win this game by 3 touchdowns. I can see this being just like last year's wild card round where Buffalo just takes them to the woodshed and absolutely hammers the Dolphins. They're preparing for Skylar Thompson to be the starting quarterback for whatever reason. I love Mike McDaniels, but he said that Teddy Bridgewater could have played last week, but he didn't. In a win or die game, you don't have your better quarterback play, and he maybe gets to play this week, but they're preparing Skylar as if he's going to be the starting quarterback. That tells me that Skylar is in fact going to be the starting quarterback, and he is going to be no match for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I would love to see Skylar Thompson succeed. You guys know how I am about my backup quarterbacks, but -9 against this Miami team seems like a goddamn joke. Like, if I were in Vegas right now, and if I was legally allowed to bet, I would put my life savings down on this Bills money line and just see the return come back.
As a Kansan, it pains me to say this, but Emot be damn, Skylar Thompson is no match for this Buffalo team. I have the Buffalo Bills covering heavily on a -9 line.
One last thing. So in 2 games against the Dolphins this year, Josh Allen has 704 passing yards, 124 rushing yards, 6 passing touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Do you think Josh was happy to have the Dolphins make the playoffs as the 7th seed? I think perhaps maybe he was. So we all agree that the Bills are going to wallop the Miami Dolphins. We've got some prop bets for this game. Tommy, why don't you go ahead and tell us about you love tight ends. We know that.
Big tight end guy. So I'm also a huge Dawson Knox fan. Love him. And I think that Miami hates him because this year in the 2 games that they have played against each other, Dawson Knox has 10 receptions, 123 yards, and a touchdown. And, if you do a little averaging right there, that's 5 receptions per game against the Dolphins. And in fantasy, Miami ranks 29th against tight ends. So all the pieces are aligning right now. Dawson Knox is going to have a decent game. And, there is times where you see them, even when the Bills are playing better opponents, they find Dawson Knox to be a consistent and reliable target. So I would love to see him get 4 or more receptions here. And plus 100 money is pretty nice too.
All right, Ben, your prop, please.
Yeah, I have a Waddle anytime touchdown at +230. Mainly because anytime I get Waddle scoring a touchdown at +230, I'm gonna put a little bit of side action on it. I'm not gonna put all the action on it, but I'm gonna put a tiny bit, just because to me, if there's gonna be much scoring output, I think that the Dolphins are gonna have to keep up with Buffalo. I think that they're gonna get on the board early and often. I think that means Skylar Thompson's gonna have to air the ball out. I do like the odds of Waddle maybe just breaking one out there. At +230, it's not bad, like a quarter of a unit, half unit, just a little side bet to keep you entertained there. But that's the prop I'm going with on this one.
Well, and Waddle did bust out and have a nice one the last time they were playing in Buffalo. So, again, at +230, it seems like a pretty safe little fun bet there. So DeMar Hamlin is back in Buffalo. He's out of the hospital now. I am certain that he is going to make an appearance before this game. That stadium is going to go bananas. This team is going to go bananas. I like the Miami Dolphins to stay under 13 total points. That pays +133. again, Skylar Thompson is no match for the energy that is going to be at Highmark Stadium. It's going to be crazy. Miami is going to be steamrolled, and I like that I'm getting this much plus money. I think the regular halftime spread is only like 14 and a half anyway. So to take it down to 13 for me to get plus 133, I am going to roll with that as the Buffalo Bills roll on to the division round. All right. That is Sunday morning's game. Sunday afternoon, we are in Minnesota. The New York Giants are there taking on the Minnesota Vikings. And we all like the Vikings. Interesting because these two teams did play earlier in the season. It was a 3-point final score, 27-24, but only because the Vikings came from behind, scored 17 points in the fourth quarter, and kicked a 61-yard field goal as time expired. The Giants really should have won that game. We could say that about a lot of Vikings games where they should have lost to their opponent. And 7 fourth quarter comebacks this season, 5 of them by double digits. Can they keep living that way? Well, obviously, we think that they can, at least for one more week. Why I am going with the Vikings over the Giants is simply I just don't think the Giants are a playoff team. Their DVOA, they're 21st. In defensive DVOA, they're 29th. 17th in points allowed, 25th in yards allowed. Really nice story. And really the only reason that they are as successful as they have been is because they've been really good on third downs and in the red zone. But otherwise, they have shown that their defense has some big holes. Offensively, yes, they got a chance to rest last week, but I just don't think that they can keep up with the Vikings at home. That is the key. We are in Minnesota, and I think because of that, Kirk Cousins and company get it done.
Speaking of in Minnesota, the Vikings are 8-1 at home this season. And if the spread was -3 in every single one of those games, they would have tied for 2, lost one of them, and won out the rest. This team, like, even though, they may not be the most dominant wins, they're winning games. They're winning by 3 or more points. And they won by three or more points 8 times, 8 out of 9. So it gives me a lot of confidence in this team. And, they're playing again at home against the New York Giants, and the Giants are not going to put up that good of a performance against the Vikings twice in a row. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think that for me personally, the spread is a little scary. At +3 or at -3, I think it could easily, get a push on this one. Uh, I'm personally gonna stick to the Vikings money line though, because they consistently win football games. That's just what this team does, man. You can say all you want about how often they probably shouldn't have won, but there's something to be said about teams that just find a way to find that victory. Just look at that historic comeback against Indianapolis. They're just finding ways to win, and yeah, they put themselves in situations they shouldn't be in, but it wouldn't be a good football and it wouldn't be entertaining if they didn't. So I'm gonna sit here. I will take the Vikings at -3 though, just because they're at home. So I'll assume that they can cover that. Fingers
What's the
crossed.
point in watching football if you're not having a heart attack every time your team plays?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm seeing the consensus money line on the Vikings right now at -167. You can get it down as low as 162 at FanDuel. So hey, that's not that bad. I would have thought it would be closer to 200. So
Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah,
play to
Are
play to
are all
200.
the are all the spreads sitting at -3 too? Because if you could find that at -2.5, that'd be a huge hit.
Mm,
yeah, for sure. That would be worth going after for sure.
that would be clutch.
All right, we have prop bets for this game. Tommy Birch, your prop is Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I think Dalvin Cook is going to be the first touchdown scorer. I mean, it's more, I don't know if the Giants are going to score a touchdown on their first drive, even if they do get the ball. And I feel like, the Vikings are going to find their way into the red zone and get within the 5-yard line, maybe within the 7. And at that point, you feed the ball to one of the best offensive players on the field, and you're gonna score. So plus 565 money was what really drew me to this because come on now, plus 565 for a Dalvin Cook. Come on now, you gotta fix that. But
Yeah.
if you see that right now, I mean, I would put a little side money on that. If that hits, that's gonna be a big profit.
No, that's good value on what you would think would be one of the top 3 or 4 likely guys to get that first touchdown. So, yeah, no, I like that. I like that payment there. All right, Ben. Here's a guy who also likes to find the end zone.
Plus
Talking-
money is
Talking about
crazy.
good value, dude. I was out there searching the apps. I was looking for some profits. I said, how can I go find these listeners some free money to put into their wallets? They said Justin Jefferson, anytime touchdown, plus 100. I said, are you sure? They said, I'm 100% sure. If you're listening, you go nail that right now because that is free money to put into your wallet. I would give you plus 100 that Justin Jefferson doesn't score a touchdown. Are you kidding me? It is more. What are we doing here? If the Vikings are playing football, if they're scoring points, Justin Jefferson is definitely a part of that. I'm gonna take that at plus 100.
All right, so Tommy picks one of the best running backs in all of football. You pick the best wide receiver in all of football. I'm going to add to the excitement by giving you a kicker prop.
Yeah.
How exciting is that? Yeah.
Woo!
Graham Gano and Greg Joseph both kicking at least 2 field goals. Add those into a little same game parlay. You get plus 280. Yeah, I mean, nobody gets more excited than when a kicker comes onto the field because a red zone trip has bogged down and you're going to get 3 points instead of 7. Well, hey, I'm going to turn that excitement into actual cash for you. These 2 kickers are going to have good games. And take your Justin Jeffersons and your Dalvin Cooks. They're fine. Greg Joseph and Graham Gano are going to be the stars of this game.
We have a good track record on kicker props too.
We do. Yeah. You got us rolling like way back in week 1 with your buddy there. Yeah. Your buddy there in Atlanta.
Forgot about that one. Kyle, you never fail to excite me for kickers in wild card football.
Yeah, well, that's actually how I got my wife to say yes to my proposal too. Is I told her about kicker props. I mean, it's
You're like, it's super profitable and no one else understands them. I got the market cornered.
Right. You find your niche and you stick with it. All right. Moving on from Sunday afternoon's game to Sunday night's game. And we've got the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. This spread, we have it at 8.5 for the Bengals. It's actually moving. I think the last I saw was 9.5. It may continue to move, but we all like the Cincinnati Bengals. And I got to be honest with you guys, this thing moves up to 11, 12 points. I think I'm going to still like the Cincinnati Bengals.
Stick with your guns, Kyle.
Tyler Huntley. Lamar Jackson came out and actually made a post today saying my knee is still not stable. So if somehow amazingly the Ravens do get past the Bengals, the Ravens are going to have Tyler Huntley for the foreseeable future. I mean, it doesn't sound like Lamar Jackson is any closer to playing now than he was 2 or 3 weeks ago. And look, this team is very, very different with Huntley at quarterback. When Huntley starts, he's only started 4 games. When Huntley starts, the Ravens offense has averaged 12.2 points per game. In Lamar Jackson's 12 starts this year, they've averaged 23.7 points per game. There is no comparison between these 2 quarterbacks. Jackson 16th this season in EPA, just ahead of Justin Herbert. Tyler Huntley 30th in EPA, just behind Taylor Heineke. Look, Joe Burrow and company are going to be good. The Ravens need to have some semblance of an offense to keep up, and they're just not going to get it this week from Tyler Huntley. Bengals roll.
Yeah, I mean, you covered it all. That Ravens offense is nothing without Lamar Jackson, and with him doubtful and definitely not playing, there's no chance in hell that the Bengals don't win by less than 10. Like, they have to win by more than 10. It's in the books. I feel like unless NFL script writers have something against us this week and have really out to get Kyle, We need Kyle to be wrong in all of his picks this week. If that's not the case, the Bengals are winning by maybe a similar margin to Buffalo and Miami.
Cincinnati is about to cost Baltimore so much money when they go into negotiations with Lamar this off season. When Lamar goes, so how'd the playoff run go again? And they're like, oh yeah, you're right, you do deserve all this cash. Bengals just absolutely blow out their rivals and just have a good time doing it.
And this will then, if both the Bengals and Bills win, as we suspect they will play in Buffalo in the divisional round. We will get that game that we didn't get on Monday night, but in Buffalo versus in Cincinnati. But I think we'll all be excited to watch that one. Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen, assuming that both of those teams take care of business this week. We do have some prop bets for this game. Tommy Birch, Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon under 83.5 yards, which is at minus 115 money. And the Ravens are 8th against running backs in fantasy this year. And Joe Mixon has only 2 games all season over 83.5 rushing yards in the game. So if we're looking at consistency from the player on its own, I would still be betting this. And then you add into the fact that the Ravens are top 10 against running backs, it's game over for me. I feel like this should be in minus 200 money, maybe even more.
Well, and if you're talking about this game being a blowout, then the Bengals may be giving their starters less work later in the game as well. So
for sure,
that may also add to that. I like that pick. All right, Ben, your prop for the day.
Yeah, I got Hayden Hurst over 3.5 receptions at plus 100. Everyone's favorite tight end, Hayden Hurst. Yeah.
I love Hayden Hurst.
This guy is putting up the flashiest numbers in the league. Okay, maybe not. But in both of the games against the Ravens, he has had over 3.5 receptions. He had 4 last week, and he had 6 on the 9th. The dude is just, that little check down specialist. The fact that they are finding ways to get him the ball makes me think that they might, implement him a little bit more into the game plan this week, just because they know that they can get the ball there easily and that they aren't really looking to cover him as much as they probably should be. In plus money on a line reception, I'm gonna take it because I like cleaning that way.
We love Hayden Hurst on and off the field. I mean, not only is he one of the most exciting players on the field, but off the field, he is a very big mental health advocate. And I admire him a lot. He's one of my favorite NFL players, actually. That's a fun fact about me. So I love Hayden Hurst, and I like that bet too.
Did you guys get together and decide who gets the Hayden Hurst pick and who got the Dawson Knox pick? Or did that just shake out naturally like that? Or
no, we were debating behind the scenes.
Coordinating.
Always have to play rock paper scissors for the tight end stuff.
I wanted Hurst, but we flipped the coin, and the Bills always lose on the coin flip, so I had to take that one.
All right, my prop for this game, Joe Burrow. I like him to have a big game, over 268.5 pass yards. Add that to over 1.5 pass touchdowns. Maybe those touchdowns go to Hayden Hurst. I'm going to get plus 143 on that same game parlay. Joey B, I like to have a big game against the Baltimore Ravens. If you remember, just a year ago against these Ravens, he threw for 525 yards. I don't think he's going to quite do that, but I think he can get half that, get to 269 and win me this bet. All right, our final game of the weekend, super wild card weekend, comes down to the Dallas Cowboys at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cowboys 2.5-point favorites on the road. Tommy and I like the Bucs. Ben on those Dallas Cowboys to cover that spread. And as we talked about earlier, get their first road playoff win in 30 years. Ben, tell us about your Dallas Cowboys.
It's more of a personal thing. Every time that I bet against the Cowboys, they've just absolutely railed me this year. And every time I bet with them, they've just let me down. I decided that I'll let them let me down this week instead of letting them prove me wrong. Uh, kind of my way of thinking. Also, I don't want to bet with Brady. Listen, I'm not gonna lie. Not a lot of analysts analyzing went into this pick. It's just a lot of personal vendetta over this year.
All right, fair enough.
I
I
mean,
don't have much faith in him. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry.
I mean, I wouldn't either with Tom Brady's playoff history. I mean, you saw how he played the other week. It looks like he's gearing up for what we used to see of him in the playoffs. So I'm a little worried. That's why I picked this +2.5 here. Is because I mean Tampa is. I mean they've had the weapons all year. The record does not show it at all. But when they need to, they can, and they need to now. It's one and done, and I can't bet against Tom Brady in the playoffs. It's against my morals, and it's against like the rules of Vegas.
So I was writing a piece today about the disparity in experience among the playoff quarterbacks. 7 of the 14 quarterbacks are going to be making their very first postseason start this weekend. You've got Jalen Hurts, who's only going to be making his second. For Dak Prescott, who's been around for a while, this is only going to be his 5th playoff start. For Tom Brady, this is going to be his 48th playoff start. He has 35 postseason wins to his credit. If he wins on Monday night, he will tie the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers. Their entire teams. His 36 wins will match what the Packers have won in their history. Only one team has more wins than he does, and that's the New England Patriots. So, yeah. Tom has been boring for most of the season. He has been hard to watch for most of the season. But then suddenly when the back is against the wall against the Carolina Panthers, he looks like Super Bowl winning Tom Brady, lighting up the scoreboard. He and Mike Evans finally find a connection. The Cowboys have not played great football to end this season. The last 6 quarterbacks they have faced during this stretch where they haven't really played great. Matt Ryan, he's not great. Davis Mills, he's not great. Trevor Lawrence, okay, he's good. Gardner Minshew, Joshua Hobbs, and Sam Howell. Other than against Indianapolis, they haven't looked dominant against these guys. Micah Parsons, and I love Micah Parsons. His last 6 games, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, only 4 quarterback hits. The pass rush has disappeared. And if you don't have a pass rush against Tom Brady, even at 65 years old, Tom Brady's going to find somebody who's open and he's going to move the ball. It may only be in 3.5-yard chunks, but he's going to move the football. They're at home. The Cowboys, a very different team on grass. I saw this stat, 1-4 this year when playing on grass versus 11-1 on turf. Interesting, that 1 loss on turf to the Buccaneers, that 1 win on grass against Joshua Dobbs and the Titans. So I like the Bucs. You're getting points. Take the points. Take Tom, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Take the points. And, if Tom Brady disappoints you, great. Tom Brady's gone and he's not around next week.
Take the points and thank me for not picking him, because if I did, it would have gone south.
Yeah. Give Ben his juice on that. All right, we do have some props for this final game. Tommy, I know I just told you about the shortcomings of Michael Parsons, but that was all as a pass rusher. That shouldn't affect your bet.
Oh, not at all, because when it comes to getting 4 tackles total plus assisted, Micah Parsons is one of the best. He has, in 14 of the games this season, eclipsed this number at 4 or more, and that includes last week against the Commanders. And I just, there's not much behind that. He's very consistent when it comes to that. And come playoff time, they're going to rely on their stars a little more. And I could see Micah Parsons getting 4 total plus assisted tackles at plus 115 money. Is very surprising to me with how often he's done this, even though he's slowed down a little bit. And 2 of his last 4 games, he hasn't hit this margin. But every other game before that, almost every other game before that, he has. So seems pretty easy.
He's not a guy who comes off the field very often, so his tackle numbers should be fairly robust, I would think. Ben, your prop, please.
Yeah, so here's my line of thinking. I got Ezekiel Elliott anytime touchdown plus a Dallas win at plus 200. All right, let's just come up with a conceivable way that Dallas wins this week. Right? I don't think it's undoable, right? Uh, is there a world in which they win without Elliott scoring a touchdown? I don't think there is. So you can either bet the Dallas money line, right, at like minus 144, I think the consensus is right now, or you can just be like, oh, I know that if they win, it's going to be with Elliott scoring a touchdown. Go get that money line at plus 200. Do yourself some favor. If you're going to be, one of those crazy people betting on the Cowboys, you might as well get it in plus money, knowing that, Elliott's going to find that end zone if they find a way to win. But yeah. So that's the thing. It's plus 200. Go hit it.
That all seems to make pretty good sense. All right. For me, my prop is going to be Chris Godwin first touchdown score. Now, my rationale here is I think because of the Mike Evans explosion, obviously he and Brady now back on the same page. I think the Dallas defense is going to be rotating over towards Evans, kind of try to do their best to shut him down. That's going to open up the areas for other guys to step forward and get that first touchdown. 4, 5, 6 players that are probably the most likely. Chris Godwin is among that group, and he's paying $675 plus $675 to get that first touchdown. Yes, he probably won't get it, but if he does, is that good value? I think, let's say he's a 20% chance of getting. Well, that's good value then at plus $675. So I'm going to go with Chris Godwin, first touchdown score. Somebody's got to get that first touchdown. Might as well be one of the guys that we know can find the end zone, one of Brady's favorite targets, and a guy who's going to get you paid in the same time. So that is my prop bet. And that is all of our props for all 16. I wish it was 16 games. Wouldn't that be a wonderful playoffs? Every team makes the playoffs. So 6 games, Saturday, 2 games, 3 of them on Sunday, and then 1 Monday night. Maybe not the most exciting way to end the weekend with the Cowboys and the Buccaneers, but 2 years ago when they played in Tampa Bay for the opening week, that was one hell of a game. So maybe we'll see a great game there. We are going to see some great football though over the course of the weekend, and we hope that we have helped you solidify or focus in on the bets that you want to place and make you some money. We do have now one last thing to do. We're going to choose our absolute favorite bets of the week. We pick all of the games, but not all of the picks are we're real sure about. These are going to be the 3 picks that we absolutely take to the bank. Ben, you knew the most about the playoff teams, so you get to go first. The whole board is yours. You can pick a point spread, a money line, a totals bet. What is your favorite bet this weekend?
My favorite bet this weekend is one that I will personally be putting the most of my pocket on. Mm-hmm. Let's all just jump on to the Jacksonville Jags hype train and just hit the money line. I'm taking the Jags money line. They are going to show that they are the real deal. I have them at plus 120 or something like that.
Plus 118 is the
118.
consensus.
I'm going to take the Jacksonville Jags money line as my best pick of this week. That's my play. I expect to put a few units.
Damn.
DraftKings has them at plus 125. So shop around for that before you place your bet, because there is some discrepancy. Like Caesars has it at 115, but you can get 125 from DraftKings, 120 from BetMGM. So definitely, I'm with you. I like the Jags. I like that pick. All right, Tommy, the board is yours.
I mean,
I know you weren't going to take Jack. We know he didn't take your bet. So
yeah, I mean, I didn't expect you to take that. I really expected something else from you. I expected this pick because it seems like the most obvious pick, and that is the Cincinnati minus 8.5.
Cincinnati minus 8.5. All right. Well, and you got in early because again, we think that spread is going to go up. So if you're hearing, hopefully you're hearing us early in the weekend because you want to jump on that now, because as soon as Tyler Huntley throws his first pass and everybody goes, egads. That line's going to like leapfrog up to like 2 touchdowns.
Actually, what I'm
All
seeing
right.
right now is that the consensus for that game has, at this exact moment, shifted to -9.5.
Yeah.
So it's on the way
All
up.
right. Well,
It's
if you're
on the
lucky
way
enough to
up.
find an 8.5, jump all over it because that's great value. For me, I am going to go with the Buffalo Bills giving 9 points. That is my favorite pick of the week. I would benefit greatly as a Chiefs fan to see the Bills lose, but there ain't no way they're losing this game.
No
They are going to win this
shot.
game. They are going to win this game by plenty. If you could lap a team in football, the Bills would lap the Dolphins 3 or 4 times in this game. So that is our show. Those are the 6 games this weekend. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Which games are you most looking forward to watching? Pick your favorite game to watch this weekend.
That's a tough one. I like the Jacksonville game. That's probably my favorite right now.
Tommy, your team's playing. Tommy, your team's playing. Oh my goodness.
It's biased. You want me to be biased?
Yeah, I want you to be biased.
I
Tell me
am
about-
biased. I can't wait to watch Seattle get whooped, mollywopped.
Oh my goodness, I'm with you though. I'm all excited for this Jacksonville LAC team. I think both of these teams are young. We're gonna see this matchup multiple times in the playoffs. This is just the first meeting. Can't wait to see this one go down.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. It's Justin Herbert's first playoff game. It's Trevor Lawrence's first playoff game. It will not be their last playoff games. I'm looking forward to long postseason careers for both these guys, and really, the Jacksonville team is just to go from the number 1 pick in the draft to winning your division the next year, and now maybe winning a playoff game after picking first overall 2 years in a row. What a great turnaround. That would be pretty cool to see. So that is our show. Thank you so much for tuning in. On behalf of our sponsors at USA Wager, we thank them. We are part of the Sports 2.0 network. Ben O'Connell joining me from Chicago, Illinois. Tommy Birch, he is in Connecticut this week. He'll be in Massachusetts next. Tune in just to see where he is. He's got the entire. He was in Vermont. We need to get you up to Maine at some point here so you can get the whole region.
I'll go to New Hampshire. It's the middle of nowhere.
And I am Kyle Garlett in Denver, Colorado, and you are in for a great weekend of playoff football betting. Good luck, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Broncos country, let's decide a new coach.